it's Rocket Fox here, and I am really excited today to bring you yet another second exciting tutorial for a makeup look. And without waiting too much, let's go ahead and get started. So today I am going to be doing something a little still pretty colorful and bold, but a little more along the cute lines. So where we're going to start is I'm already coming with a, again, freshly cleaned and moisturized face. And I did want to share, I have a little bit of primer that I've been using. This is a coconut skin smoothing priming moisturizer. And I do find that having a good primer, especially for eyeshadow, really makes a difference. So I'm gonna put some of this on here today. And from there, we are going to go ahead and start with our concealer. I'm gonna apply a little bit of this to a couple spots where my skin's been doing a thing. And I did mention this last time, you know, skin for everybody, regardless of what majority of hormones you are sporting, at different periods throughout the month, your skin is going to want to react in different ways, whether that be having a little more breakoutage, being a little more smooth and dewy. So you will probably find, like I do, that sometimes you need to use a little more, sometimes a little less. Totally normal. Right now, I'm entering a phase where you need to start using a little more than during other times, and that is okay. All right, so have most of that on there. And now we're going to move on to the eyeshadow. Now, what I'm going to use for this is, I have a palette that I actually picked up at Marshall's back in the day before the universe shut down, necessarily, but this is the Profusion Wanderlust palette. I'm going to try and get that to where the light's not killing it. The Profusion Wanderlust palette, and this is one that I really like a lot. The colors are very vibrant, and I noticed that they stay very vibrant even on non-fully Caucasian skin that's a little more olive/yellow toned, so that's really nice. The one thing I do want to say about this is that especially the pink tones do tend to want to cling to the skin. So even with my my cleaning regimen, I have several different products that I use for that. I'll generally tend to have a little bit of pink hanging out on my face afterward, which makes me look a little extra tired, I guess, afterward. Normally with the looks I'm doing, once I put something else on, it's not really a huge deal, but it is something to be aware of when using this product. So for this, we are going to start with this Regal color, which is this kind of magenta purpley color, which actually, fortuitously, matches my hair. It actually matched it very closely before we started getting the fade. And today the brush we're going to start with is this brush that, if you watched my last tutorial, is the same brush I started with then. And you will notice that I normally, when I'm starting a look, do tend to start with the same brush to put down the base layer of eyeshadow. So it's just kind of a round brush, comes up to a little bit of like a bit of a rounded edge there, but gets a nice soft color application. So we'll start with that. And normally when I start to apply, I'll start at the center of the eyelid and get some nice dark color. And you can see already how vivid that pigment is as I start putting that on there. That is just really nice and bright. And as I apply that, start at the center of the eyelid and then start to work your way out. So start with the color in the middle, and then as the color starts to fade off the brush, work it out, and that will allow it to blend further out. So you can see that it starts to drag a little bit of that color out, and you get that nice blend. I say nice, it's nice for what it is, though we are going to be going back and adding more finishing to that as well. These are the initial steps we're going with here. So then get all the way to the inside. And as I go toward the inside of the eye, I start and then I pull the brush back away from my nose. Now for this look, for this regal purple that we're starting with, magenta, we are only going to take it out till right about the line to where if your eyebrow extended all the way down to start. So see how that shape forms there? Now we're going to go to the other side. All right, now we're going to take the next color, which is this darker purple called Retro, right underneath, and we're going to take that and mostly apply it to that mid space where we were applying the majority of the color, just to darken that up. And unlike the first magenta color that we started with, we're not actually going to drag this one out. We're going to keep this really centralized over the eyelid. The nice thing about this color is it plays really, really well with the magenta, so we don't really have to worry about blending it quite as much. So you can see the difference that makes between the two sides. We'll do the same thing on the other side. Now we are going to go back to Regal again and add just a little more back here at the corner to get some more of that pigment back here. And you'll see with this, my application is more of like almost a tapping. And now the next color we're going to take is this kind of pinkish sparkly color here called Nimbus. And we're still using the same brush. And as I said in my first video, I have, and I'll show you again just in case this is the first one you're watching. You always want to make sure that you're approaching with nice clean brushes. And after you're done with a look, you want to make sure to clean your brushes. But I tend to use the same brush for some of these similar colors. And so what I'll do between colors, because my looks take a little bit of time, and because I'm switching back and forth very multitudinously between these colors, I have this pad here that is kind of this rough textured pad that's for makeup brushes, and it is for cleaning brushes. And so between colors, what I'll do is I will quickly dry clean the brush between the different colors, and that helps me switch between without necessarily going through the process of a deep cleaning, which is unnecessary between each of these colors that we're working with here. So moving along. So going back, we're going to get to Nimbus, this lighter pink sparkly color, and what we're going to do is we're going to take and start applying this on this magenta color kind of at the corner here, and start to pull that out here onto the temple. Now you want to get enough color here to where you're blending it, but then as you go out, you're going to have your brush strokes be a little bit lighter. And from the side you'll see applying and then just really light and almost like starting to apply into the air a little bit. It pulls it out a bit, but what that does is it makes it to where this edge here is less stark as well. Right, now what we're going to do is we are going to come back to the eyeshadow, but first we are actually going to go into our liner. Now I talked about this liner last time, but what I like to use is NYX, the mechanical eyeliner, retractable mechanical eyeliner. Clearly, I need another drink of my coffee. And I found that this is one of the ones that applies really well, stays really well, even with having the underfold eyelids, and wears really well throughout the day. So I'm gonna go ahead and apply this, and as I have the more Asian style, again, underfold eyelids, I apply my lines much more thickly. So apply them as fits your facial structure. You're gonna want them noticeable, you're gonna want them pretty thick, but mine necessarily need to be much thicker so that you can see the lines when my eyes are open. So we're gonna go in there and start from the middle. I find that always tends to be the easiest, and I also find that pulling the skin taut helps as well. Now, as I said last time as well, I also like to pull this way so I can get down into that inner side and really line all the way down to the corner. All right, so once we have the line, it's time to move on to the wing. And for this one, since the color swath on the temple it's noticeable and it's there, but we're not focusing on that being really a stark line. So we're not necessarily following that, and we're going to be softening that a little as well. So what I'm going to do is, really this is kind of up to your vibe of what you're feeling that day. What I like to do when I'm just going for a standard wing, I guess, is actually look at the lower lid line, see? And so kind of follow that. So as I'm looking here, follow this line right here, and then as I follow that line, follow it up as if this is one straight line. So keep going, and then up we go. And again, I like long, dramatic, wings. That may come as a shock, maybe not. So I'm gonna really swing that out there. And then once that line is there, we're going to make the topper, or the other part of that triangle, and really just come down from this top line and smooth that down into that point. Okay, so you'll see how that kind of has a nice swoop to it over there. And then going to the other side, which, as I said last time, is a little tricky because for me, my eyes are not identical. One of them closes a little bit more than the other. They're not symmetrically placed on my head. So I find it to be a little tricky to get the illusion that the eyeliner is the same on both sides. So as I go, I like to check between both sides just to see how things are looking visually. Now this is an instance where I did actually go a little more ham on one side than the other, so I'm gonna go back and thicken this side up a little bit so they match a little more. All right, and then to do the wings, which again, trying to match, and take note of what your tendencies are for both sides. As I've mentioned, I tend to go a little bit higher on one side than the other, so I do try and take note of that as I'm applying. Doing the little trick with, you know, continuing out the line from your eye shape does help to set a little bit of a structure there. So whatever trick helps you is what you'll want to go with. All right, so now we have both sides relatively even, and we will come back to this. So the next thing we're going to do at this point is we are going to take and get into putting a little bit of black powder over the eyeliner, and I find that helps to set the liner so that it gives it a little bit of extra staying power. So for this, I use this smaller brush, and it has that nice curve at the top, but it's pretty thin in comparison. And for this, I'm going back to this Morph Boss Mood palette, and there's a really nice black color in there that I like called Black Magic, just plain black color, and you can see that I use it quite frequently. But I find it's really nice and dark, and just has a very nice opaque pigment to it, whereas some black powders don't really have as much inky blackness. So I'm going to put some of that on top. And I'm going to try and get as far into that wing as I can. And what this also does is help even out any places where there might be a little less liner, little splotchiness, anything like that, and make it nice and matte and smooth. All right. So today we're going to leave that line pretty stark. But what we are going to do is that while we're in this Boss Mood palette, we are going to utilize a little bit of Transformer, which is this darker purple here. And for this, we are going to go back to our first brush we started with, but we're going to flip it over to the butt end. So if you have another brush that serves this purpose, flip over to that one. And it's a little bit longer, but the main thing is that it's smaller and more focused. So it's rounded, kind of similar end shape to the one we just used, but it has longer bristles, so we get a little bit of a softer application. But it is round, kind of a little bit wider from one side than it is on the other. Now we're going to take this Transformer and we're going to apply it kind of along the edge here of where our eyeliner is. And we're going to stay here, kind of toward the top of our eyelid. You'll find that's where we're going to be putting a lot of our darker tones. And as you'll notice, it's okay to actually be overlapping onto the eyeliner itself. It's not going to mess that up. You can gently work that out a little bit. But again, when you apply the shadow, start it here where you want the darker tone to be, and then as some of the pigment comes off the brush, then work it outward. So that helps you to blend in that direction. And I also just apply more lightly with the brush as we go out. So see, it just gives a little bit more of a darker vibe on top there than it does over here. So we're going to do the same thing to the other side. All right, so now we can go ahead and put this away. Now I'm going to add a little bit of highlight above, and for that I'm going back to my Too Faced Love palette, and really the only thing I'm using here is this kind of shimmery lighter skin tone color. So if you have anything else that works in that tone for you, use that. And so I'm using just a little bit, kind of basically it would be the child of the brush that was doing the black and then doing the purple that we just applied. So it's thinner on one side, wider, round at the top on the other, but kind of bigger than the one that we used to apply the black, longer bristles, but not quite as long as the one that we used to apply the darkest purple. So get some of that color on there, and then we're going to put that up here in the highlight area. Now we're going back to our Wanderlust palette and go back to the first brush we had, and we're going back to this Nimbus color, which was this light pink shimmery color. So we're going back to the temple zone here, and we're gonna lighten up some of that dark purple that crept out there. So go ahead and do that, both sides. And as you go ahead and let that color pull down a little bit onto the top of the cheekbone. Now we're going to switch to the brush that we used for the dark purple. And again, wipe off between uses so you get that dark purple pigment off there. And we're switching to another color on here called Gravity, which is a light, almost fleshier pink color, but still sparkly. And we're going to take that and we're going to start applying that to the top of this temple color here. So get that onto where the purple is and then work it upward. And again, same thing on the other side. So what that does is that allows this purple that comes out to almost function as a little bit of a contour instead of as much a color swath. Now we're going to go back to our first brush and we're going back to Nimbus, which is, again, this lighter pink, just a little vibrant sparkly color. We're going to take this and we're going to start underneath the eye. Now, we're going to start under there, just start, and you see how I have the brush pointed upward at my, don't poke yourself in the eye, don't do that, but carefully, to start applying that underneath, in the space under your eye. And you'll notice what this helps to do is when you're applying the color to your brush, you're really applying it to the end of your brush, see? And so as you apply it here, the majority of the color is going right here under your eye, but as you apply it, a little bit is kind of seeping down, so that helps to blend it downward too. All right, and then head to the other side. Now, what we're actually going to do today is we're going to take this and we're going to go across the bridge of the nose. So this side here, connect to the other side. So just right across, right across. So almost like a little bit of a sunburn is the how I would best describe that. And honestly, if you were thinking about the location on your face, that's pretty much the location you're going for. So now we're gonna flip to this more pointed butt end of the brush, and we're going to this color called Go Girl, and it is this more vibrant pink. So we're gonna take some of that and we're going right under the eye here. That's gonna add more of this color right up under there. And this you want to keep a little more focused because it is much more bright. So keep it under there, and then you can gently let that come down a little bit because you do want it to blend, but you don't want it to come down quite as much. At least not for today's look. So go ahead and add that pink in there. And you can see how that adds just a little more dynamic from one eye to the other. Right, now we are going to move on to the eyebrows. And for that, we're going to actually stay with the Wanderlust palette. So I don't know why I just closed it. For the eyebrows, I use this little angled brush, very thin, but nice sharp angle to it. And we're going to start with this darker purple retro and get some of that on there, and then start at the innermost part of your brow here. And as you apply, go with the growth of the hairs. And you'll see I have the brush actually angled with the hairs. So down here, I have it almost to where the line of the brush goes along to where I'm drawing the line along the edge of where I want that line to be, except for the front of the brow. For that, it's like I'm almost drawing little itty bitty lines. See how that is? Just tapping that there. And that helps to keep the front a little bit softer so you don't have a stark line. Then work your way to the top. Now for the top, actually take and I'm gonna go across, but I try not to apply as thick as a line, so I'll actually work some of the color out here in the middle and then I'll draw the line up at the top. And a lot of times I'll actually take and pull down. I'll put the brush where I want the line to be and then I'll pull down, again, with the growth of the hair. So for this color, you're actually only gonna go about that far. And then we are going to switch to this magenta color, Regal. So switch to that, and then when you start on this dark purple. Start there, and that helps to blend it, and then move a little bit further. As we go, we have one more shift we're gonna make. We're gonna switch to Go Girl, and same thing, start on the magenta color, and then keep going to finish out at the very end point. So you'll see that gives this nice kind of fun umber eyebrow. So same thing on the other side. And I'm gonna take and do just a little bit of this liner for the lower lid. We're actually gonna keep it relatively unhindered by eyeliner below, but we're gonna take and just do it on the inner lip of the eye, just on the back end here. So start at the back, work your way toward the center, but don't go too far past the center line. Of depth to the lower lashes, but it's not quite as bamfy of lower liner. So we're gonna do that same thing to the other side. Okay, so have that going now. And the next thing we're gonna do is add the false lashes. So I'm using the same ones as I did last time, and I like to recommend cleaning your lashes between uses. That helps them to last a lot longer, and it lets them stay on a lot better if they're clean. And it's just more hygienic. It's better for you. So take your lash, take your glue, and I have here the Ardell Lash Grip Eyelash Adhesive. It's the kind with the dark color that dries dark. You can use whatever makes you happiest. I found that this one I like the application of and I like the removal of better than a lot of the other ones, which is why I kind of stick with this. So I put a thin line on there and let it get a little tacky. So then I like to start on the inside here. So go ahead and place the inside edge where you want and then apply from there, because I find that is easier, and if the outer edge is a little wonky, it isn't quite as noticeable. All right, so that's one. Now to do the other one. Another tip I like to give is I actually prefer to err on the side of, put enough on there to stay, but don't put too much. I find that too much, when you put it on, is going to go in your eyeball, and that, these products are tested. get a reputable one. Reputable versions of these products are tested, so it's going to be safe for your eyes, but it's just unpleasant. It's not fun. But also, whenever I got married, I had a lot of glue on my eyelashes, and it was really unpleasant to get off, even with a lot of product, removal product. So I actually prefer to go a little bit lighter on this and just have some eyelash adhesive with me in case something comes off. I think being more comfortable is definitely worth just being prepared. All right, so we've got those applied now, and what we're gonna do is actually go back and bust out Boss Mood again, and get into a little bit of that darker black magic powder, and we're gonna take and apply some of that over here to tone down any wayward glue that might have snuck out, as well as cover up any places where, in the process of pressing these puppies down, might have upset any of the liner. Okay, now we're going to add a little more highlight to right under the brow line, and for that I'm using this Pure Cosmetics Simply Shimmer Smoky Collection. Fun palette, but most of what I use it for is this white here. It's a shimmery white, has a little bit of glitter in there, and I find it pops really well. So we're going to add a little bit of that right under the brow line, just kind of in the topmost part over here. And same thing for the other side. And then we're also going to add a little bit on the inner corners of the eye, to give a little bit of highlight in there as well. Now we are going to move on to the forehead adornment. Now, I have to say, doing cutier looks like this, I really like. Because I just aesthetically really like them. They're fun. They make me feel good and really cute. One of the other things I really like is I feel like a unicorn, and that is fun. So I'm going to go with that idea today. And for the moon magic, I'm going to use this NYX retractable eyeliner in white. And this is a really nice one because, again, it shows up really well. And when doing any of the symbols, designs, things like that, this is a really nice one because it shows up well, and you apply it more like a pen or pencil, which for me as an illustrator is a little more natural, I think. So that's really nice. So we're gonna go ahead and get started. And for this one, we're gonna place it right kind of here. We're gonna have a good size on it. Not huge, but we're going to start up here and just start making our circle. And I like to start at the top on one side, go down, and then start at the top on the other side and try and meet the two. And do the outside outline first, and then go to the inside. And as I've said before, just the best thing to do is really practice. Practice, practice. And the more you practice, the easier it will become. Now you're going to want to do a couple passes because, again, the white is very nice and vibrant. However, most of us do not have skin that is paper white. All right, so we can see that that shape is starting to come together. And as I go, I really just start to fill out the shape and smooth out areas to really get that nice rounded shape that I want. So this is not totally done yet. Now, I mentioned this before before in the last one, but I want to point it out again because it's really helpful. I'm going to use it now. I keep you can tell it's been used. I keep a dry makeup remover wipe at my makeup station for purposes like this. I find it's very helpful. So what I'll do is I'll take this, I'll wet it. I wet it with my mouth because I just do. And then I'll go in and I'll clean up any edges that I'm like, oh, I want this edge to be sharper, or this circle is not quite the shape on that side that I want. And that really, really, really helps to get a nice clean shape. And when you're doing a lot of shape work in makeup, you will find that to be invaluable. And that's what's gonna help us get the points on the top of the moon too. So I'm gonna go in here and start at that top and really start to get that point going. So you see how I use that to really shape that, and you can see the difference between the two sides there. And I'm going to switch to the other side, do the same thing on the other side there. And you'll notice too that I find it super helpful to kind of pull the skin so that it's a little more taut. I might have to go back and fill some of this out. Okay, so that's pretty good. I'm gonna go ahead and got a little thinner on one side than I wanted. So I'm gonna go ahead and go back and fix that up just a little bit. Try and even it out. All right, so that's pretty good. That's looking pretty good. Pretty happy with it. So now what I'm gonna do is I love this a lot. I have this Too Faced Glitter Pop Peel Off Eyeliner. Generally, I do not use it as eyeliner. I use it as application for other purposes, such as what we are about to witness. I will normally put down a color that I apply this to the top of because this really is just glitter. It's whitish, but it does not itself have a lot of color to it. So I'll put down, such as in this case, the moon first, and then I'll take, we see it has a very sharp, it has an eyeliner type applicator here, but I'll take it, make sure you get some on there, and then I'll apply it to the top of my moon shape here. I want to make sure to keep it on the moon, because even though it doesn't have a lot of inherent color by itself, what it lacks in color, it makes up for in so much glitter and sparkle. And that is why I love it so. Glitter in this instance. Now, I'll try and get to where you can see, but there we go. See a little bit more in the shady, in the shadiness of my hand, but there's a lot of that glitter pop going on, which is really fun. So the next thing we're gonna do is we do need a little something else added onto here. So we are going to go with this purple Too Faced Bulletproof liner in Purple Rain, which is a really nice purple. It's not hugely dark once you apply it, but it does have some nice sparklies in there as well. And what I'm gonna do today is I'm actually gonna put a little heart underneath here. So I'm gonna take this, and what I found the easiest way for a pencil like this to apply is just start on one side and start drawing a line down diagonally. So, and that's gonna be one side of your heart. And then go to the other side. Okay, you'll see how this is starting to come together. And again, this is another reason why I keep that wipe here, is because we're gonna go back in and clean this up. This is just to get the basic shape. But you see how that starts to get that nice top rounded part. All right, and actually it's not bad. It's not bad. It's a little crooked, but it's not bad. We've got some nice things happening. So we're gonna go in, and again with our wipe, we're gonna go in and clean this up a little bit so we're not quite as wonky. All right, so we have a nice heart shape there in this fun purple color, which is neat. And I'm gonna add one more thing, which is we're gonna go back to this white color and add just a little dot underneath, which we are going to add some glitter to. Now, something else I did want to do is we are going to bring a little bit of highlight here underneath the wing, and we're going to take this white for that and draw a little bit of a line underneath our wing back over here. As you get out, kind of lift the pencil so it lets that kind of fade just a little bit. Do it on the other side as well. And because it is the day that it is, I'm going to add a little bit of this glitter to there as well. All right, now we're going to go ahead with the bottom portion of our face. Now have this Ofra. It is a bronzer, but I use it for contouring. I have this brush that I use, kind of rounded tip, thin on one side, thicker on the other. Just take a little bit of it and start up here at the corner, underneath your cheekbone, and pull down. And you don't need a lot of the color for this. And same thing on the other side. And I mentioned before, but just as a body landmark, kind of starting in line with your ear here tends to be a good marker for where to really start that and go. And then once you're done with that, we move on to the highlighter proper. And for that, I have another Ofra, and it's a Rodeo Drive highlighter. And so I take just kind of a mini blush brush kind of deal, sweep it around in there, and go on the top part of the cheekbone. And then for the actual blush, we have Chiate in Date Night, which is kind of my go-to for blush, and have a regular blush brush. And I really go kind of between what I use as a contour and the highlighter, but just right above that contouring line is where I place that. All right, now we are going to go to the lips. And for that, I am going to use a little bit of a lighter purple today. So I actually do not have in right now any of the liners that I would normally use for this. So I'm actually going to use this Sephora dark purple liquid liner just to get that darker color on the outside. And I don't know the name of this color, but the bottom says 15. So that, I guess, is the official color. So I'm going to take this, and I'm a little low on it, so I'm going to take it as best as I can and kind of go around the outside edge of my lips. And as I do this, I do tend to go a little bit, just a little further outside my natural lip line, just to give a little bit of a plump illusion. So I've got that placed, and now I'm going to move on to the other color, which is this Kat Von D Susperia, which is a really nice, I found that these colors tend to stay really well, and it's just kind of a nice, again, like this magenta-y color. So that's what we're gonna do. And when I place it, I put it kind of, I start on the lower lip for this one, and I just do the inside here. And then smudge it around. Got that, And I am going to add a little bit of glitter because that's the place we're in today. So first I'm going to try and let this set just a little bit. I found that both these types of liquid lipsticks, you don't ever want to apply too much or too many layers because then they get cakey and they tend to want to flake off or peel, or they rub off really easily, and it takes forever to set and they get sticky and weird. But when you just do a little bit and you kind of rub them together, and it's kind of like with nail polish, you have too many layers, it gets just weird. But if you keep a nice thin layer, it actually tends to set really nicely and stay well. So it's actually getting to the point where it's pretty set now. So I have here a little bit of this MAC Bling Thing liquid lip color. So I'm just going to take a little bit of this and put it kind of toward the middle parts here. And then I'm going to rub them together, get that glittery shine. Because normally when I do lipstick of any kind, I like to stay matte. I just don't really like gloss. I just don't like the feel of it. Look is fine, I guess. I don't really care for it too much. Glitter, however, I'm okay with. All right, so the MAC Bling Thing ended up being like a potato chip that I just couldn't stop myself. So I ended up putting a decent amount on there. And then I did end up adding a little bit of, I have another Kat Von D Everlasting lip color in this glittery metallic Televator, which is a purple metallic glitter thing, which I added a little bit of. So now we have this, which as you can see is just a nice metallic deal going on, which I think fits the theme that we have happening here. So some of that. And I did get, which I wanted to try a little bit of, just a little bit. I got earlier today this creme, and it is the For Real freckle stamp, and it's a little heart stamp. So I wanted to go ahead and try it. So you see it's a little heart stamp there. So I'm gonna try it. I'm just gonna put one here by my eye, and we'll see what that does. Boop. So there you have it. Little heart stamp by the eye. It's cute. So I might try and do something with that at some other point too. I just wanted to, so I did. But since that's there, I will go ahead and add, I have this Laura Geller Incredible After Midnight pencil, which is kind of a black. I would never use this by itself because the black doesn't show up as much as the glitter does. So I'm going to add a little bit of this on top of this heart stamp. And I do have to say, oh no. So what I am seeing here is adding this is actually making the stamp go away, which I don't love. There we go. So adds a little bit of glitter to that. Because we have a lot of glitter going on. Why not add more? So yeah, the shape is nice though. The shape is nice. It's a good size. You know, if you want to have a little heart going on, it's definitely a quicker and easier way of doing it. So we'll see how well it stays, but it's not bad. I don't dislike it. So this is the look so far. Hope that this was helpful, and go forth, try it out. I would love to see anything you end up doing, even if this is just a jumping off point to get creative in some other way, but hopefully this was useful in some fashion or another. Thank you so much for joining me, and yes, yeah, thank you so much, and I hope you are well, and I will catch you next time.